Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagenow, and we are back here in the Hendrickson Library at the Center for the Preservation of Western Civilization at ITR World Headquarters here in central Iowa. We've got John Hendrickson and myself here ready to thrill and excite you on the gold standard for Iowa conservative entertainment.
That's
John,
right.
it just comes natural now.
Yeah.
Well, great. I know you've been eager to get back behind the microphone this
yeah.
week, so I know our listeners are pretty excited. Remember, really exciting.
Yes, yeah.
Lots of emotion, lots of enthusiasm. So let's just keep it up because we got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
We are going to briefly talk about what's going on at the Capitol in terms of policy, and I want to give the folks an update about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you and I are going to spend some time starting a conversation that we are going to have over and over for the next probably 18 months of what should they be looking for and what should they be asking as they select a new governor.
Mm-hmm. That's a big question.
Yep, and we don't take that lightly, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, Are you strapped in, ready to go?
I am.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
I'm ready.
So, to the surprise of no one, it looks like this year's legislative session will go a little bit long. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of deals being cut yet. I know it seems it's always a little bit surprising. The fact that it is surprising to me that so many people want to linger around that place as the temperature gets warm. I know from personal experience, I wanted to get out of that place once the temperatures began to be into the 70s and beyond.
Yeah.
There are other things that can be done, and usually the delay wasn't yielding a lot of great results. It was just the delaying the inevitable. But here they are. Probably the most notable thing, and you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm going to take that back. At least the thing that we have spent more of our time on lately is the latest version of a property tax reform package released by the House and Senate Ways and Means Committees. It's really difficult. We have said many times how Iowa's property tax system is very complicated, frustrates many Iowans, and that similarly, the solutions are sometimes complicated as well. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
And it's very difficult to analyze a bill when one comes out. Because I think you and I, from a mechanical standpoint, understand what these bills aim to do.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually put dollars into that system, hey, wait a minute. Because what's the fundamental question we're trying? Are you cutting my taxes?
That's right.
You know, it's not what is the impact on cities, what is the impact on counties, all of that. I mean, relevant, but me as a Iowan, as a taxpayer, as a constituent, as a lobbyist in the system, I want to know what's it doing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first and foremost. So, John, you spend a lot of time, the policy, that's your thing. I mean, give me your perspective on where we're at or what this latest bill, don't get into the details.
Yes,
but is it meeting the goals? Is it going to get us where we need to go? Give me your perspective. And I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I'll probably get in trouble for this, but I would say...
John, you've said lots of things that will
So,
get you in trouble.
yes,
You're still here. You're still behind the microphone, so that folks want to hear what you have to say.
I would say no. It's not getting us where we need to be. The revised bill just quickly changed a few things. It from my perspective, it revised the 2% cap by weakening it by adding an inflation factor, which benefits the spenders, benefits local governments to benefit their spending. It also hastens the immediate phase out of the rollback, and that means so that starts right away, and then to try to cushion that, they increased the homestead exemption to $50,000, but there's not a guarantee that that's even could be enough to prevent the some residential homeowners from getting a tax increase. And then the other mystery is the shift that goes from the school levy buy down from 540 to 270.
Yeah.
That's still a lot of unknowns there. So I've got some concerns with that.
We've been told that that's supposed to be a dollar for dollar of winding down some existing credits and whatnot, but we've not really seen the detailed data, the detailed numbers on that. I think there's some trade-offs that are going on inside that bill that we can't fully analyze because, again, we don't have the numbers. But is this short-term pain for long-term benefit? How does it affect a lower valuation house versus a higher valuation house?
Yes. Yeah.
And how does that play out? Because we want everyone to get the benefit. I have concerns about just simply ratcheting up the homestead credit because at some point we can just keep rollback if we're going to do that because it's the same thing, only the rollback would apply evenly across the board. So I don't know. I still think they want to put together a meaningful bill, but I don't want to be. We've got to see the numbers on what it actually does, because otherwise we're shooting in the dark here. Yeah, and I still have some concerns about what it is we're doing.
And I have to say the evidence shows that when you do a cap, and you start carve-outs and exemptions and inflation factors. You really hollow that out, and it makes it almost meaningless. Yep. And so, I think you and I talked before. It's like trying to bail out the Titanic with a Dixie cup.
I love that line, John. And you know what? In the theme of excitement, and creativity, and emotion, you're coming in hot with bailing out this Titanic with the Dixie cup. That's exactly what I want to see from you.
Yeah, I like early 20th century references.
Right. Good. Okay. Let me ask you this though, John. You got me with the Dixie Cup reference. Okay. Here's where I want to go. I want to wrap this up because I don't want. Again, we're flying blind here a little bit on the actual numbers, so we really can't offer too much of an opinion. But what is the real problem with property taxes in Iowa, John?
The real problem is local government spending.
Local government spending. The best way to address the property tax problem, if you are a state legislator, is to do what?
To limit that spending.
To limit local government spending. I that is something that I personally feel very strongly about, and I know you do too. And I think some of this might be getting there, but it's getting it there, sort of, and maybe the change maybe they need to redo some of these formulas to get there. But limiting what they can spend is the solution to this problem.
Yeah. I was working on an article this morning, and this was an income tax article, but I think the same situation applies because I was doing an update on state income tax reform, what different legislatures are doing right now. And a number of states are cutting income tax rates. Some have, like Mississippi, are passed a substantial bill that's going to actually eliminate their income tax. Louisiana moved to a flat tax. Kansas moved to a flat tax. And how these states are doing it is that they're passing this legislation, but they're also limiting their spending. Yeah. And that's the key. So regardless of the tax, whether it's the income tax, the property tax, the sales tax, government spending drives taxation. So if you want to lower taxes, you have to limit your spending.
Well, I think that's a good point, John. We're going to have more to say about the property tax bill and when we get the opportunity to analyze it a little bit further. But what I'm really excited to talk about, you know what? Back up again, John. There is one other thing that I want to make sure we do point out that I'm excited about, which is the constitutional amendment.
Yes.
The 2/3 majority. That cleared the full Senate today. And
it did,
I talked with our team at the Capitol today who think that we've got a good chance of getting that through the House as well. And that is a significant thing for Iowa taxpayers.
It is, absolutely.
And it's going to dovetail into what we're going to talk about as we move forward, looking to 2026. But that taxpayer protection is going to be critical if we can get that done.
Yeah. So, can I just share a quote from that debate?
Yeah.
This is from Senator Tim Kryenbrink. Am I pronouncing his name right?
Yep.
Yeah. From Fort Dodge, and I believe he chairs the Senate Appropriations Committee.
He does.
And this was during the debate, and he was quoted on saying this is in response to one of the Democrats who had obviously opposed the amendment. But he says, basically what you're saying is if we get right on the budget, if we get tight on the budget, you're just going to right away raise taxes. You're not going to look at what you're spending. You're just going to raise taxes. And then Senator Rocky DeWitt says, raising taxes on anything, I don't care what, should be hard. Yeah. And they're both right. I mean, this is, the automatic impulse should not be just to increase spending.
Right. I want to give a special appreciation on this to Senator DeWitt, who has done a lot of work on this amendment. And even though he's going through, I think, some health challenges right now, but I know the taxpayers of this state are especially appreciative of the work that he has done to shepherd this through. And I'm really hopeful that we can get this done yet this year.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Good. I'm glad you brought that, John. Okay. So obviously the huge news in Iowa politics, I guess, came out on Friday was Governor Reynolds announcing that she will not be seeking re-election in the fall of 2026. The wheels have been put in motion for her to run. You know, that team was getting back together, but this was probably an appropriate time for her to make that kind of a decision. You know, if she finally did the soul searching that, you know, as she said, wants to be a grandmother and do those things. And I absolutely, she's earned all of that. And you know, that gives the rest of at least the Republican field the opportunity to take a look at it, who's running, who's not. And it gives the opportunity for us to a little bit of breathing room to look back, start talking about her legacy, and to think about what questions should we be asking? What should we be expecting out of our next governor? And I'd like to try and approach that. And it's not even what do we expect out of the Republican field, but you're going to have multiple Democrat candidates likely and multiple Republican candidates.
Yes, yeah.
And so we're not a partisan organization. Obviously, I wear that banner or, wear that stripe on my sleeve. But, I think that many of our issues do resonate on the Democrat side as well. I mean, we've seen it in our polling. We've seen it on the 2/3 constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
So, and we have members across the political spectrum. So we're going to try and speak to this globally. And because I think the questions are the same. So I want to start so as we build this out over the weeks and months to come, we're going to talk about the legacy of Kim Reynolds. What major reforms did she get done, and how did she position Iowa going forward? I know it's a story that you like to tell. I like to talk about a lot. Yeah. This is where you can get really excited and demonstrative, John. Okay. I'm going to get that cotton-picking Hoover ball down off the shelf and beat you over the head with it, John. It's time to fire up. Yeah. We're talking about Kim Reynolds here. Okay. And we're going to talk about, so what made her so effective? What made her get so much done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I told you to buckle up, John. And so so we're going to do that. And I also, obviously, the very immediate question is, who's running? Who's going to run? Well, we know that on the Democrat side, State Auditor Rob Sand is running. I don't know if he's actually made the I'm running announcement, but everyone assumes, he's raising the money to run for governor, that he is going to be running for governor. And, there's a whole list of potential candidates on the Republican side, although the only one that has announced is former State Representative Brad Sherman.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's going to be a whole lot of other entrants into this race. I think you will, ones that have publicly said they're thinking about it. I mean, you're reading a lot of the same stuff I am.
Yeah.
You've got Attorney General Brenna Byrd, who probably is the one that made a first initial statement that a lot of people are looking at for no other reason that very high-ranking statewide official and somebody that may very well get an endorsement from President Trump.
Yes, yeah, yep.
And he, famously said even that on stage, I think at the caucuses, that made a statement about that. But similarly, another one that folks are wondering about is Ambassador, it's fun to say this, Ambassador Matt Whitaker,
yes,
the U.S. Ambassador to NATO, who also is someone who is very close to President Trump and has has run statewide in Iowa twice now, and is looked at by many as a very strong candidate. Should he get in? It's no surprise to, I think, most folks that I know Ambassador Whitaker pretty well.
Yes.
But I can't get him to return my phone call right now.
Yeah.
I think he's busy.
Yeah,
He's trying to stop World War III.
Yeah.
Great. I'm on board for all of those things, John. I mean, there's important work to do. But that's out there. I think Congresswoman Ashley Hinson is someone that has been looked at as a future statewide, governor, senator candidate. And Ashley's a tremendous candidate, friend of mine, who would be a very, very formidable candidate and all of that. I think I saw that Congresswoman Miller Meeks and Congressman Feenstra both said they were not interested. I could be misquoting Feenstra. If I am, I apologize. Don't believe we've seen anything out of Congressman Nunn, but obviously you look to the federal delegation for those kinds of things. Yeah. I've heard people suggest that Secretary of Ag Mike Naig might be interested. Haven't seen a statement from him. Also, Speaker of the House Pat Grassley and House Ways and Means Chairman Bobby Kaufman both mentioned that they at least aren't saying no. Chairman Kaufman being deferential to the Speaker, which that makes perfect sense. And I also, if I'm missing somebody, I know that Bob Vanderplas, Chairman of the Family Leader, or President, whatever his title is, has indicated that he had an email out today that said he something to the effect that he doesn't. Right now he's not, but he's going to leave it open until the fall. Did I miss anybody significant in all that?
I don't think so, no. I think you covered all the main ones, at least I've read about in the media. I
think one of the things I would say, though, is usually there will be, and maybe this is where, Bob Vanderplas comes in, but there's somebody that's not an elected. There's a business leader or somebody else that maybe has a higher name ID that wants to jump in. I could see the room for somebody like that in the field. But I think there's a lot of people looking at it because this sort of thing doesn't happen very often. We have not had an open primary for governor in this state on the Republican side since 2010.
Yes, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here we are. It'll be really hard because a lot of these people I consider personal friends.
Yes, yeah.
I really will. And I believe in a lot of them. Frankly, everyone I listed, and I genuinely mean this, I think would be an effective governor of the state. And I think that every person that I listed there shares a lot of the same core convictions that you and I do. I genuinely believe that. Whether now we can get down to grading them on their ability to win, their ability to get wins, on and on and on. But that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, thoughts on any of that, John? I don't want to just sit here and
I
leave you up here to listen to me because then you're going to get bored and then you're not going to be excited anymore.
Yeah. I don't want you to hit me over the head with the Hoover ball.
I mean, if I want you to be excited and start throwing things around the room, I've got to give you a chance to talk.
But no, I think you're right. I think you summed up that well, and I think it is going to be a very competitive horse race, and depending on who gets in, and right now there's a lot of names, a lot of high profile names, and especially on the Republican side. I mean, it's I think with the governor making that announcement early, it's going to make a very competitive primary.
There will be policy differences that are explored in a Republican primary.
Yes, yeah.
The one that has divided the capital for a long time that will be an issue is probably the carbon capture pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
You may have people on different sides.
Yeah.
And there may be certain candidates that have championed that one way or the other. Yeah. I mean, certainly Speaker Grassley and Chairman Kaufman have led on that issue.
Yeah.
Wherever you're at on that,
yeah.
they would be able to speak authentically to that issue.
I think, and you just reminded me, because I think you said the last primary was 2010, and I remember ITR even did a forum for that primary.
Yep.
And because I attended that forum.
Well, good.
That was a long time ago.
Those are difficult events to host.
Yes. Yeah.
But we want to be a part of whatever happens.
The other thing is, I wonder on the Democratic side. I'm just curious if it's just going to be Mr. Sand or if there would be other candidates. The consensus seems to be that he's the main candidate, but I'm just curious about that as well. If there's going to be maybe a dark horse that will come in and.
I think initially the expectation was a competitive primary there, but I think that Auditor Sand has raised so much money that the other, we'll call them strong candidates, well-funded candidates, have decided to look elsewhere.
Yeah, the money maybe scared
Well,
them off.
and I think one that had sort of even said publicly that she was looking at it was House Minority Leader Jennifer Confrist, who is also now in the mix, I believe, thinking about running for third district Congress against Zach Nunn. So, then this happens.
Yeah,
just when one person, the governor here, now it changes who all these folks and where they're running. There's a lot of dominoes that fall with this.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, that's all to be expected on both sides. But I gave one example of where there might be a policy difference. Maybe if different people have different opinions on tax policy. I would love to hear those. It doesn't mean there's a right or wrong.
Yeah.
But And another issue might be, on tax policy of income taxes, property taxes, but some of the other business issues, agriculture issues, and cultural issues.
Yes, yeah.
Certainly,
social issues will be back.
Been a lot of high-profile issues come out of the legislature in the last couple of years.
Yep, education will probably be a factor.
Because certainly those are going to be issues in the general election.
Yes, yeah.
Clearly, we've seen Auditor Sand wants to run on school choice issues, be on the other side of it, wants to be able to audit all of that, and I know that the Christian School Association's really been pushing back on that lately. Those are the kinds of issues we're going to be talking about. Big, major issues.
Yeah.
I've said before, I think it's exceedingly difficult to undo a major reform like the governor on school choice, but it's all part of that legacy agenda that we're going to come back around and talk about.
That's right, yeah.
The governor on taxes, the governor on school choice, and those being certainly, and DOGE and reform and all of those things. So, we get the opportunity to go back through and talk about that again.
That'll be
great.
Fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I think a couple of things, though, that come to mind as we look ahead, though, John, and I maybe get your take on this real quick before we're done. First and foremost, electability does matter, because whether you're choosing a Democrat or choosing a Republican, you want somebody that can win, and you want somebody that can go to Iowans and win their support.
Yes, yeah.
And I say that because I want a conservative, personally. And it's not, some people hear me talk about electability and they hear, well, then you're willing to sacrifice all these. No, I'm not at all. But I will tell you that a candidate who is successful at winning support among Iowans, who is good at that, is also usually really good at winning support for their agenda inside the Capitol.
Yes, yeah.
That if you are compelling outside and rally folks to you and your agenda, it makes it that much easier to actually get wins on that agenda. And I think it's something that Kim Reynolds had in spades.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
She went out, she had the support, she was quote unquote electable.
Yeah.
And if you've ever watched Kim Reynolds work a room, you'll know that she is a force.
Yeah.
And then that made her that much more effective inside the Capitol. So I set that out. It's electability and those other criteria.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I mean, she led on several key issues, whether it was the flat tax ESAs or just two big examples, and just even during COVID. I mean, as another example, and she's really set a conservative agenda by doing that.
That's right. But I also, there will be other things that come up. But this idea of political courage, political resolve, there's a lot of different ways that we can cast that. It is much more than where someone falls out on the political spectrum. For me, it is, what do you truly believe? And how much are you willing to stick to that when it gets tough? And again, that is something I don't think any of us ever really doubted where Kim Reynolds stood on taxes or where she stood on school choice.
Yes, yeah.
And she was committed. And people were angry with her for some of those things. But she knew what she believed, and she was willing to do it.
Absolutely, and even challenge members of her own party.
That's right. Yeah. And so I think that's something that voters need to pay attention to, is not just does this candidate say what I want to be told on these things, but are they going to actually do it? Are they going to fight? And I look, I've said before, I love the line from President Trump that he has said is that they're not just after me, they're after you. I'm the one that's standing in the way.
Yes, yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, yep.
And I think that's the thing that they continue to have the folks want to support President Trump because they felt like he was fighting for them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it's look, there's only one Donald Trump, for better or for worse, John. There's no one out there that's going to be able to do that. Yeah. We can talk about Brenna Byrd or a Matt Whitaker or a Bobby Kaufman earning a Trump endorsement. Maybe. I don't know. But none of those people can do what Donald Trump did.
That's right.
Yeah. But what they can do is in their own way convey to Iowans that they're going to fight.
Yes, yeah.
And they're going to stand in the way.
Yeah.
And help them get ahead and get wins.
That's going to be crucial in that primary and in the general election.
And it cannot be delivered through a TV ad or a piece of mail, a little bit through a TV ad. I mean, I'm a believer in that.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to be authentic from the heart, and you're going to have to go across Iowa into living rooms and pizza ranches and wherever else you go, and you're going to have to talk to Iowans.
That's right.
And you are going to have to communicate to them and be believable and let them know that you're going to fight.
Yeah. That retail politics still matters here.
In fact, I would argue that it matters even more than it ever did.
Yes.
Because I think most Iowans, most Americans are tuning out the rest of it.
Yeah.
And they don't believe it.
Yeah.
They don't believe what they read, see, and hear on the news. They don't believe what they see on social media. And the only way you can do it is actually go have a conversation with them.
Yep. I agree. I mean, the cynicism is very high.
So, well, that's a preview of what lies ahead, John.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I am. I want to talk about those issues.
I'm proud of you. I left the Hoover ball on the shelf.
Yeah. Just slam me over the head.
And if it gets any worse than that, where's the we're not even on video because of our video tool today. The Civil War Atlas.
It's somewhere here, but there's
it's this giant tome that, like, I mean, you could do damage with that thing. Okay, that'll be.
You put me in the hospital. That one.
That's right. All right. So stay in line or it's coming. All right.
Did anybody answer the trivia question? No one did. Not even Representative Gustav.
No. Usually he's the one we count on.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah. Well, that's go back, listen to what's actually 2 episodes ago. Yeah. But we need an answer on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're going to say it a million times, but we genuinely appreciate Kim Reynolds, everything that she has done for Iowa taxpayers, and we're going to keep telling that story, and we're going to do everything we can to be a part of the process of selecting somebody that's worthy of her legacy. And so with that, Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends. And with that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.